Good afternoon, sports fans. Welcome back to another video. Now, as the NFL season approaches, many sports fans are now all ready and excited to see some of their favorite players, maybe some rookies that just came out, see who has the most potential, maybe some breakout players, and those teams who are projected to be best in the league. And then we got the teams who are projected to be the worst in the league. And one of those teams are the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I came here today to talk specifically about football in Arizona. Just 2 years ago, the Arizona Cardinals had one of the most promising seasons since 2015. A star quarterback, a young quarterback by Kyler Murray, took the league in control. He became one of the most exciting players to watch. We had a easily top 5 receiver, future Hall of Famer in DeAndre Hopkins. We created a pretty good defense. We had many good pieces on there. Budda Baker, Isaiah Simmons, Byron Murphy. And just 1 year later, that same team is in a rebuild. Now, when a team undergoes a rebuild phase, it's a complete, it's in the name, it's a complete restart of your team. You start from scratch. You offload everything. You get rid of all these players, all your star players. You get rid of the old. You bring in new draft picks. You build a future. You now start to focus on a future. You cannot bring in win-now assets because you have to lay the foundation for your team because you are now starting from scratch, from the bottom. And the Arizona Cardinals have already started doing that. We brought in an entire new front office and coaching staff. Our receiving core looks completely different. Our team looks completely different. Specifically defense, we lost many key pieces. Zach Allen, Byron Murphy, and now Budda Baker says he wants out of Phoenix. DeAndre Hopkins was let go earlier this offseason, and it's starting to look like we're in that rebuild phase. New coach, new front office, new way of looking at things in Arizona. But there is one piece here that has remained, and that is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray did not have his best season up until the point he got injured. It wasn't looking good for him. And then he goes down with a terrible injury that could potentially and most likely sideline him for a good chunk of this season. Now, with the Arizona Cardinals roster being really the worst roster in the league, many analysts are saying we have a good chance to be the number 1 overall pick. And our chances have doubled since our pick is going to be really bad. And we have another first-round pick in the Houston Texans pick, which is probably going to be not very good as well. Now, for those of you who don't know, in this upcoming draft class, there is a exciting new prospect, the likes of which we haven't seen since Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence. He's already being projected to be the next face of the NFL, and that man is Caleb Williams. Now, people are saying that if the opportunity arises, like it did in 2020, 2019, with Josh Rosen and Kyler Murray, we will repeat history, send Kyler Murray off, and draft Caleb Williams. And the thing is, as an Arizona fan, I love this team, and that sometimes gets in the way of how I truly see things. Because if I'm talking about another team, I see things the way it is. I have no bias, no emotion interfering with how I see the game of football. And that's different with the Cardinals. Now, over time, I've watched Kyler Murray's. I've watched him every single game of his NFL career. You grow attached to these players. You like them. It's going to be a sad day for me and for a lot of people in Arizona if Kyler Murray does ever leave. Now, in my opinion, I would not get rid of Kyler Murray. People are saying, well, you did it with Rosen. Well, here's the difference between Rosen. After that first year, it was already evident Rosen was not going to be a stud. He showed no flashes whatsoever. And it's a severe understatement to say that Kyler Murray has shown flashes of greatness. He put on a whole season of being an elite quarterback. If he did not go down those 4 games where he led us to a 7-0 record, he would have an MVP to his name. And that's the truth. He was on track to be just good. And, in this new episode that came out with the Arizona Cardinals, specifically surrounded around Kyler Murray and his injury and, how he's trying to come back with all this, I learned that he missed a lot of reps. He had a wrist injury. He had COVID all before this past season. And many people are wondering, because he did look off. He didn't feel like Kyler Murray. He wasn't playing like Kyler Murray. And, there were so many factors in this past season. Coaching staff being one of them. I wouldn't go out here and put all the blame on Cliff Kingsbury. Even though many a times during the season I realized that Cliff Kingsbury is not the guy. And it's unfortunate because I really do think he's going to be an NFL coach, a good NFL coach one day. He would have been, I think, a lot better if he had not jumped from a failed college coach straight into the NFL as a head coach. He could have used some time down at QB, maybe a QB coach, worked his way up to offensive coordinator, and then head coach. There's a reason why those guys do that in the NFL. It's not some traditional old mind way of thinking where you need to work your way up to head coach. Because it takes experience, it takes practice. It's 2 different leagues between the NFL and college. And Kyler Murray had to deal. You could see the tension growing between Murray and Cliff. The bond, the relationship was just not there anymore. Again, I'm not going to put all the blame on Cliff. There's some blame to go around on everyone's part. Even Kyler Murray. There's a lot of blame to go around on Kyler Murray. He did not have a good season. But I'm not trying to make excuses, but I already mentioned those factors that affected how he played. And then it was just, Hopkins was out for the first 6 games of the season. And it was a terrible season from the jump. And I think it's one that needs to be erased from this franchise's memory. Now, the thing with Kyler Murray, okay, let's say you have a new prospect, Caleb Williams. You have the chance to draft him. We don't need Caleb Williams because we have Kyler Murray. We know that Kyler Murray can ball. We know that dude is a stud. I mean, Kyler Murray, I've watched all his, some of his best games and some of his best plays. Take Las Vegas, for example. The way he took control of that game. I forget, were we down 20-0 or 20-3 by halftime? And I said, I think I said to my dad, I said, Kyler Murray needs to take control. We need to see some leadership out of Kyler. Because there's been many of occasions where Kyler has seemed to not be much of a leader. But, with Kelvin Beachum and many former teammates taking jabs at him, and even Monty Ossenfort taking a jab at him in his introduction press conference. But he took control of that game. He led us to one of the most amazing comebacks in NFL history. And after that game, I realized, Kyler Murray is the shit. I mean, this guy is good. He is good. And to throw all that away for a fancy new prospect, I just don't like it. I mean, people are now casting off Kyler Murray as some sort of bum. This guy ain't no bum. This guy's good. We have seen how good he is. We know he is good. I don't want to get rid of Kyler Murray. I would not pass up, or I would not get rid of Kyler Murray to take a chance on Caleb Williams. No matter how good I think Caleb is going to be. And I think he's going to be good. But realistically looking at this, seeing what the Arizona Cardinals franchise has done, I can already see how we have laid the groundworks for Kyler Murray to not be on this team in the next 2 to 3 years. Or even this year, next year. By this offseason, he may be gone. And I say that because, well, first of all, let's look at the coaching change, right? Why did we bring Cliff Kingsbury in? We brought Cliff Kingsbury in for Kyler Murray. Those two were supposed to be, Murray fit his air raid offense. They had some prior experience. Cliff had experience with quarterbacks of his type. He was supposed to be for Kyler Murray. Now you bring in Jonathan Gannon. Okay? You got to ask yourself, does Jonathan Gannon, a defensive-minded coach, is that really meant for Kyler Murray? It's not. It's not at all. It was not meant for Kyler. He's not, and I say that because he's not going to be on this team next year or 2 years from now. And that's the sad truth about it. Monty Ossenfort made it clear that he would not tolerate ego on this team. And that was a jab at Kyler Murray. No one else. And I think when you undergo such a drastic change, everything's got to go. You cannot rebuild with a franchise quarterback. And especially in the position he's in where he's on and off, now he's injured, and it's got to start completely brand new. And that's what we're doing. And it's sad to say, Kyler Murray is not going to be on this team much longer. I mean, that's just my opinion. From what I can see, and from what I think, that's what I take out of all this situation. And we really do have a mess out here in the desert. But, this is all projected or based off of a projection that we will end up with the number 1 pick. Now, depending on how this season goes, what if we don't end up with the number 1 pick? I still think that the Cardinals are going to be pushing for a guy like Caleb Williams. Whether we have the chance to get him at number 1 or we have to trade up for him. So, we're going to have to see how this NFL season goes. I mean, there's no sense just being down about it already. I guess, just watch it. Just be excited that we got football back on. But, this is what I think. So, that's going to be it. I know everyone's excited for this new season. So am I. So, thank you and have a good rest of your day.